everyone and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to chat all about how to use a clothing steamer. So, what you're going to need before we start is making sure that you have access to power. You're going to need some water because you'll need to fill up the steamers with water. You're also going to need a coat hanger. The stand steamers already have shoulders on them, or most of them do, so that you don't actually have to use a coat hanger on them. And that way you can put the garment straight onto the stand steamer. However, if you have one like this, you're going to need a coat hanger. You're also going to need access to a hook if you have a handheld steamer. A hook is just going to give you something to put your clothing hanger on. Some people go into the bathroom and they use their shower rail. You can use the cabinet handles on your kitchen cabinets. You can use a doorknob. It doesn't have to be anything special or fancy. You just want to make sure you're in a well-ventilated area so you don't set off any smoke alarms. Also that you don't end up with, frizzy hair and a very stuffy feeling home by the time you're done. You're also going to need a clothing peg. I use clothing pegs right on the edges of garments, and also so that I don't steam my fingers and burn my fingers. I've burnt myself so many times on steamers. I'm pretty sure I almost don't feel heat in those areas anymore. But if you are, sensitive to heat and it does hurt, use a peg. It'll make things so much better. So when you're steaming, I think the important thing to do is make sure that the nozzle is clean. A lot of the time when you steam with a dirty nozzle, you can put that dirt onto your clothing. So this one here has a protector on it, but when I take this off, or if I was to take it off, it might have a bit of dust on it. So I always clean that down before I actually start using it. Next, what you want to do is you want to either change the water. So you shouldn't really leave the water in the little water containers. It does get a little bit smelly and mold can grow, and it's just not a nice thing to put out on your clothing. It's not a nice smell to have in your apartment or in your home. So you want to make sure you put some fresh water in there. Some people like to use distilled water. I use tap water and I haven't had a problem. I just make sure I clean out the steamer after each use. Now, I like to steam going from the top to the bottom. I also like to steam really hard areas like under the sleeves and under the armpit area and down the side of garments from the inside. So if you have something like a button-up shirt or you have a wrap dress, steam that from the inside instead, because it's just going to be so much easier to get the creases out. It's going to be less awkward holding it. I think the hard thing with steamers is we're usually holding the nozzle and then we're trying to hold the clothing. It can be really hard to manipulate the fabric. So go from the inside instead. If you have any really difficult spots, so say you've got a little bit of embroidery, you've got a print on there, you've got beading, things like that, they're difficult things to steam around, and you actually shouldn't steam directly on those things either. What you're going to want to do is steam that area from the inside as well. So one thing you don't want to do is steam horizontally. If you end up holding the steamer front on and directly onto a flat surface, say you were to lay your shirt out on the table and you want to steam directly onto it, it's going to mean the steamer will actually drip on your garment. It's also very likely to burn you, and it's going to hurt quite a bit because there'll be a lot of steam going up to your hand and possibly even your face. So you always want to keep your steamer upright. There's going to be some fabrics that you're going to want to avoid steaming, and those are sequins, feathers, waxed fabrics, and polyurethane. Anything that's plastic based is probably going to curdle or melt. It might even leave a few marks or stains on the garment. When you're looking at things like feathers or anything with animal hair, just be really careful about putting a steamer near it. If you have to steam it, do it from the inside and don't put the steamer directly onto the fabric. Move it a fair distance away. So there's plenty of fabrics that you can steam, and steaming is actually a lot softer on your clothing than ironing is. You can steam most natural fabrics, so cotton, denim, which is made of cotton, wool, linen, silk. You can also steam polyester and viscose. Because polyester is quite a smelly and non-breathable fabric, the steamer is fantastic on the inside of things like blazers where you're most likely to have polyester lining. When you're steaming things like denim, you can actually put the steamer directly onto the denim because it'll get a little bit more out of it rather than steaming from a distance. When it comes to wool, just don't steam directly onto the woolen fabric. If anything, turn that woolen garment inside out and steam onto it then. So now it's time for some questions that I get asked a lot by clients. Firstly, does steaming remove any stains? And no, it doesn't. All it does is refresh the garment and get wrinkles out of it. If you have stains on your clothing, you should actually just wash them or send them to the dry cleaner. And if you use cleaning spray, do you need to use it before or after you steam your clothing? When you have a steaming spray, you want to use it before you steam your clothing, not after. If you do it after, it might leave a little bit of residue on the clothing. Always do it before. What about when you can wear your clothing? Do you have to wait until the clothing is completely dry for you to wear it after you've steamed it? Or can you wear it straight away? I've actually got a client of mine who will put the garment on and steam it on her body. It gives me anxiety every single time I see her do it, and I wouldn't recommend you do that because you can burn yourself. I think you can actually wear your garment pretty much close to straight away. By the time you finish steaming the garment, majority of it will actually be dry. Maybe wait around about 30 seconds to a minute before you put it back on. Just feel the garment. If the garment feels wet, don't put it on. If it doesn't feel wet, wear it. And does steaming damage the fabric? So steaming won't damage most fabrics. You just want to make sure you're not holding the steamer directly onto delicate fabrics or fabrics like suede. You don't want to put a steamer on any fabric that is plastic based. So keep it away from things like sequins and beads, anything with polyurethane or wax coating on it. That might make your fabric melt, or it might make it do with things. If you notice an odd smell is coming from it, definitely stop what you're doing and don't steam any further. And what about steamers versus irons? Is one better than the other? Personally, I barely use my iron. I have it sitting in the cupboard. It's currently gathering dust. I think both appliances have their place. If you have business shirts and you want those clean, crisp lines, or you want to be able to press pleats into things, then you're going to need an iron. If majority of your clothing isn't business attire, or it's not those crisp cotton button-up shirts, then a steamer is probably all you're going to need. So the steamers I use are the handheld Russell Hobbs steamer and the standalone Tefal steamer. I think they both have their own uses. For me personally, I actually use my Russell Hobbs steamer a lot more than I use my standalone steamer. My partner uses the standalone steamer because the shoulders on the steamer are actually kind of in line with what his shoulders are, whereas the standalone steamer for me is too broad for most of my clothing, so I actually prefer to use my little handheld steamer. I've used quite a number of brands over the years. I used to not like handheld steamers at all because I couldn't find one that didn't drip onto my clothing or that lasted long enough. I often just found they weren't powerful enough. I've tried some other brands and they have been okay, but so far I think the Russell Hobbs steamers and the Tefal or Tefal steamers have been the best on the market. So thank you so much for watching my video. I'll leave those links in the description below regarding the steamers that I've used. So if you like this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. If you want to see more videos like this, or you want more videos on garment care or garment maintenance, please leave a comment below. I'd love to make that video for you. Otherwise, I'll see you next Sunday with a brand new video.